You're in Los Angeles, am I correct?
Yes, yes, yeah. Where are you? You're in New Zealand?
I'm in Auckland, New Zealand, right in the middle of the city. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yep,
So the
yeah.
first
Well, so
question, we're all sitting here watching CNN all day long, and the insanity that's going on over there. So maybe you can give us a little lowdown
oh man,
on what it's like from your perspective.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely crazy right now. I was driving today and I saw a lot of government army vehicles just driving down the freeway. So I mean, it's been a tense weekend for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, we live a little bit outside of the center of town, up towards the hills, and so we're not, it's pretty quiet where we're at. But yeah, no, I mean the whole city, it's really sad. I think when my wife and I talk about it, it just feels sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So, have you any opinions about what's going on? Do you kind of sway one way or the other? Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing, a scary thing? What?
I mean, as a white middle class, musician, I feel very privileged, and I feel
Yeah.
like, if anything, this just it shows me, my lack of understanding of real empathy for the plight of African Americans, in the country. I think violence is, and protest is obviously, backbone of America. I believe in protesting. I've been involved in a lot of protests, and I think when it escalates to the looting, it's very understandable. It's I understand where the violence comes from and where the anger comes from. Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab my baby here.
Oh, okay.
I got someone joining me here.
But more the
There we go.
merrier.
The more the merrier. Yeah.
And who is this?
So Wilson, he's gonna be he'll be one in 2 weeks. He's almost 1 year
Cool.
old. Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean I think America right now is it's been in a very difficult place for the last 4 years, and for the last 200 years. I mean the country was founded on a very flawed system.
Yeah.
So but I think what President Trump has done is really fan the flames and worked to divide the country for his own gain, and to distract people who would be his opponents to infighting, so that he and his cronies can kind of get away with their schemes.
Yeah.
So
I
this
mean,
just
let's
seems like
face it,
more the
protest
thing.
has been a way that change has come into state since the Boston Tea Party. So,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah. Protest. Yeah. So I'm all for protesting. Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's tough.
Okay, so you've got a new album coming out this week in the middle of all
Yes.
this
Yeah.
called
It's a
Goons
strange
Be
time, but
Gone.
yeah. Well, exactly. And I think the name, to a degree, definitely is a reference to this kind of this sort of administration and this sort of mentality, because I think it's not just Trump. He doesn't live in a bubble. His supporters and this mentality of kind of ignorance and proud ignorance, that is a strong streak in America right now. So I think
Yeah.
the title especially was, let's not put too fine a point on it. It's exactly what it is. Like, these guys, this kind of thuggish mentality and this sort of thuggish ignorance is uncalled for and unnecessary and needed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just watching like CNN from here, you can see how how confrontational it's become, and people are speaking the blatant truth, at least as far as I can tell, and
Yeah.
saying things that you would never hear on television news, 3 months ago even.
Yeah.
So
No, I
it's
think
pretty intense.
yeah, a lot of civility has definitely gone out the window,
Yeah,
unfortunately. But I think clear statements from the left and from the far left, I think, are very apparent now and very needed.
yeah, yeah. So have you been locked down for a while and just kind of staying at home and chilling?
Yeah, I mean, since March. Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we have the 1 year old that you met, and we also have a 6 year old.
Oh, good.
So his school closed, the second week in March. So we've had to transition into homeschooling. My wife's been able to work from home, and then whatever touring we were planning to do around this time got postponed,
Yeah,
and will hopefully be rescheduled. So yeah, so I've just been home. Dean and I have actually been working prior to the lockdown. We'd been working on a follow up record to Goons Be Gone, and I think we're about 85% done with it. So I tried to take some time during this lockdown to work on my side of things, and Dean's worked on his side a little bit, but we haven't been together to work on anything.
because you guys kind of I don't know if you took time off, but there was quite a bit of space between a couple of your albums.
Yeah, in
So
between
you're cranking them out.
we're up and at 'em. Yeah, I think between an object and snares, we toured extensively. We toured for about 2 years, and then I got married and had the kid first, and then Dean also got married and had his son. So we took some time to start a family in our early 30s, which felt like the right time to do it. Just, you know, I mean, even though if fans would have wanted another record, then it's just like, well, we put out 3 records and a handful of EPs. We'd been pretty much going nonstop for about 7 years at that point.
Right.
So we felt like, okay, let's put some roots down and kind of secure our sanity so that we could continue to make music moving forward.
Right. And it's interesting. I mean, everywhere that I looked, you guys are described as you making noise rock. And I mean, obviously you're making a noise, but that kind of infers that it's kind of all over the place and kind of confrontational and not particularly sorted out. But that's not the case with this record. Has things changed with what you're doing, or has it always been that way?
Yeah, no, I think we kind of just write to where we're at and write what we're feeling. You know what I mean? I think there was we've never done anything that's a grand concept. I think if anything, I mean, I think there are some kind of harmonious moments in this record. I think there's still the layers of kind of sounds that are going there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it's so hard with genres or labels or things like that. We were never the ones who put those on ourselves. We kind of just try to write what we like to hear, what we feel like needs to be said, or what we're able to add. So I think this record is kind of just where we're at. I mean, I don't know. I feel really good with how it turned out. I think there's definitely some more straight ahead rock moments, like Agitating Moss and stuff.
Right.
Okay, hold on 1 sec, buddy. I'm doing an interview real quick. Yeah. Do you want to say hi to the interviewer? Okay. What's an interviewer? What's an interviewer? Come here.
It's one of these.
Interviewer. Yeah. I'm talking to him on my headphones. Hi. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel good with kind of where it's at. I don't think we needed to, to posture and do something that felt really aggressive if we weren't feeling it. I think a song like Turn the String is the kind of taut, sort of tense song, and then there's also some kind of beautiful songs like Feeler. I think are really great.
But I like a Turn to String. That seems a very accessible song as well. It's a good gateway into the band if people haven't discovered you by then. And
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's kind of I don't know if you even know, or the Modern Lovers, Jonathan Richman, the first album. It kind of felt like that to me, which is a good thing because it's like 10 records.
Oh my God, yeah, no, we love Jonathan Richman in that record.
And guitar-wise, like on Sandalwood, I was feeling kind of a Velvet Underground-y vibe, and I'm wondering, what you're doing and if that's part of what makes you do what you do.
Velvet Underground's always been a huge influence since I was a teenager. Hold on 1 sec.
Yeah, sure.
Hold on. Velvet Underground. No, I had listened to the Lou Reed biography, going cross country right before we made this record. So I think I had a lot of kind of thoughts about Lou and his life and his art, definitely going into this record. But I think there's like an unspoken sort of. Hold on 1 sec, bud. Can I do this in just 5 minutes? You want to keep watching your show?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, one of my favorite Velvet's records is that Live 1969. That album, where I feel it really captured the ferocity and just kind of just a band just giving it their all. I think it's one of my favorite records.
I was so annoyed when they reunited in like '93 and they played those gigs in Europe and they were coming back to the States and then they broke up again. I was like,
yeah, it was funny on this tour, the tour we did right before we recorded this record. Also, Dean and I showed him songs for Drella. Dean had never heard that kind of love, that version of Lou and John Cale.
Yeah,
and I think that's I prefer that, to kind of
that's about as close as we're going to get to anything. I agree. Yeah. So how do the two of you, do you write together? How does the creative process work between you and Dean?
Yeah, we write together. We basically we just sit down and I'll start playing something on the guitar. He'll start playing something on drums. And it doesn't always, turn into a song, but maybe it's a sketch. At this point now, what's been nice is I've been able to turn our practice space into a recording studio. So I'll
Hmm.
just kind of set up what I call like a glorified boombox recording. We used to just set up a tape player in the corner and press record and just record the jams, and then have to go back and slog through 2 hours uh, of tape to hear 15 minutes of a good idea. Like,
Hmm.
was there anything good? We played for 2 hours straight. Was any of that good? And we'd listen through the next day at practice, kind of like reading the minutes from the last meeting. Like, what did we
Right.
do last week? Was anything any good? But now what I'm able to do is I pretty much set up a recording session, mic all the drums. And I won't isolate the guitar. I'll have the guitar live in the room. So, and then just hit record, and we just kind of jam for 2 or 3 hours, and then go back and hear what the bits and pieces that were good, and then take those out, maybe take 5 minutes out of 2 hours and say, that's good, let's build on that. And then and then we just constantly review, we're always tightening up and just reviewing and editing. I think that's a big part of our creative processing. Our creative process is the edit, because I feel like you just throw so much at the wall, and it's cherry picking the parts that have the most potential to grow, or that we feel there's something interesting or not that hasn't been done before. There's something really
Right.
nice and cathartic about just jamming, but rightfully so, 90% of that stuff doesn't need to be heard.
And you guys prefer working as a duo rather than as for want of a better word, a real four-piece band?
Yeah, I think for us, I mean, there's something democratic about it. You know what I mean? It's real, just two guys.
Uh-huh.
We have to slug it out, rather than pick sides and form alliances.
Right.
I don't know. It's just what's worked for us. I mean, we've had a third member on stage triggering samples that I would create, for the record.
Yep.
So we've had other members on stage, and we travel usually with a front of house person or a merch person or a driver in Europe and stuff. So, we'll definitely tour with a larger group. But in terms of the decision making and kind of the creative process, I think there's something interesting about the band that is the Venn diagram of where Dean and I's interests intersect.
Uh-huh.
I think we both have an active, creative life outside of the band and of things we like. But I think with the band is in essence defined by where those things overlap.
Right. Yeah. And one thing that keeps coming up, everything that I read about you guys, is they mentioned these self-recorded samples that you guys
Yes.
make, which seems like an oxymoron almost. So maybe you can
Yeah.
tell me if that's still happening on this record, or what the deal is, how that works.
Yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me reset these guys again. Hold on.
No problem. Take your time.
Okay. Thank you, buddy. So the idea of a lot of times, we'll sit down and jam, and then there's also just a lot of kind of noise making, just sort of making strange sounds. I work with a heavily affected guitar, sort of sound with like a big pedal board a lot of
Uh-huh.
times. So I'll just kind of make sounds and sort of affect them and just kind of create these soundscapes, and then those will get recorded, and then I've been able, my rudimentary self-taught sort of musicianship and composition skills, like, oh, well, this is kind of in the key, or this is a harmonious kind of counter melody key that we could add to the song. And so I'll go back and kind of pull from a palette of different tones and sounds, and then sample those. In essence, make loops. And I think that sort of fills the role of the third member in a way to where we can trigger these samples live. And
Right.
because really, with guitar, I play in standard tuning, and I'm running through power chords and sort of traditional guitar sounds. But
Yep.
these otherworldly, kind of ethereal or atmospheric or even cathartic or kind of dissonant guitar samples, we'll usually add that layer of texture and sort of disharmony and harmony at times. So it sort of acts as another member. And Dean triggers samples live, I trigger samples live. We've kind of built it into our live show, and I think that's come back around to work into the recording and the creation as well. Like,
Right.
I'll kind of play something fairly straight ahead, and then add the samples in to kind of give it something that feels a little bit more, just harmonically interesting.
Right. It's interesting. Also, I mean, like the last couple of songs are pretty much straight ahead rockers, but like the song like Feeler, it starts out funky, then it kind of gets punky, and then there's a psychedelic stuff going on, especially in the lyrics. And I'm amazed at how you're able to sew all those together.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of the idea of not following any rules and kind of just following our gut, like, well, this sounds good. This sounds good. Okay, that works. I mean, and I think we've never been too afraid to wear our influences on our sleeves. I think we've never made a record that didn't have a song that started off with a working title, Wipers, or these kinds of sounds. It's like, oh, that's kind of the Neil Young sort of sound, or that's sort of the Wiper sound, or
and do you have a guitar player that is a favorite of yours that kind of influenced what you're doing?
Listen, I love Mark Rebo.
Right.
I don't necessarily know if I display any of his proficiency on the guitar. I just love him as a fan. I think in terms of where I sort of try to draw from is some of the noisier Neil Young solos.
Right.
I definitely love that kind of breakup that he gets with his guitar.
Yeah.
And then, Johnny Ramone into then Kevin Shields and Jay Mascis, sort of the pantheon of noisy, loud guitar.
Yep. There's some great ones there. So, and is there, I know there used to be like a really cool punk scene, and X just put out a new album in LA. So is there a scene happening now?
Yes, there is. I mean, there definitely is. I think, as you can tell, I got my hands full here on the home front. I don't get out to as many shows as I used to. But yeah, no, I mean, the venue where we got our start is called The Smell, and we still I'll still book shows there for friends, and I'll still play solo shows there, or we'll even play shows there still. So there's definitely a vibrant, interesting scene. I think LA kind of got taken up by the garage rock revival,
right?
The kind of Nuggets comp we visited, and so there's a big kind of garage scene here around, like, In the Red Records, and Ty Segall moved back down here a few years ago. John Dwyer from the OCs lives in LA now. So there's a handful of DIY spaces, and even a great kind of avant-garde space called Zebulon that used to be in New York, and they do some great noise shows. So yeah, no, there's a lot of venues here. I mean, it feels like so long ago. It feels like another world.
Yeah.
After 3 months of lockdown. But no, there's lots of great musicians and lots of great artists here.
So we'll just wrap it up and let you get back to your babysitting. You mentioned that you guys are working on a new record. Is that heading in any particular musical direction at this point, or is it too early to tell?
I think if anything, it's a little bit more abstracted. I think if anything, if Goons is the rock record, this might be the sort of conjoined twin, of the other side of that coin, of the more abstracted.
Yeah.
Record. It's kind of lives compositionally within a collage sort of experiment, where I've been able to take a lot of Dean's drums and sort of cut them up and arrange with them. There was a handful of songs at the end of Snares Like a Haircut. The song is called Third Grade Rave, and I forget what the last song is, but they were kind of made in that vein. So I think this follow up to Goons will sort of have that that feel to it. Where you still you're still using live instruments. Yeah, it's not an electronic record. It's not a dance record. It's live instruments with sort of collage together to create these sort of abstracted sort of sounds that maybe isn't so based on a 4/4 sort of rock and roll sort of tradition.
Sounds good, man. Well, I'm going to let you get back to what's happening at home there.
Yes, well,
thank you for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, there you go.
This is what I'm looking at. If I'm
Domestic
looking off
bliss.
camera, I'm like, okay, who is going to fall first? I'm waiting to see, make sure you don't go to the hospital. My wife yelling, "What were you doing?" I was doing an interview. Like, okay. Anyway, I appreciate it. Yeah, and hopefully we'll get down to Auckland again.
Come on down, man. You can do a little gig in my place here.
Oh man, it'd be great. We played in Blenheim in a
really.
in a Seitan? No, we're not. What's the a vegan factory? Yeah, like a Seitan factory. It was great in Blenheim. It was called The Plant. Yeah, we did a tour there in 2019. Yeah, the February of 2019. We got to Auckland and Wellington, and even down to Dunedin. So hopefully, yeah, we'd love to come back.
We'll be here. Not much else
Okay.
happening.
All right.
Thank you very
Sounds
much.
good. All right, take care. Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.